Born in Montreal, Samantha Starr studied creative arts and interior design before setting her sights on scrapbooking. Samantha is a regular featured guest here on Cool2Craft, and she is also a teacher at Craft Tech University. Today she's here to show you how to create a 3D star ornament. I'm delighted to welcome Samantha Starr. Hi, Samantha.
Hello everyone, good morning. I'm very excited to be here this morning to share my little star with you. And this is such a super fun and easy craft to make that we're just going to get right into it. And I'm going to ask Tiffany to put up the slide as I position my camera. So, there's a few things that you need to make this ornament. You're going to need some stars that have already been cut out, and you're going to need about 5 of them. Now I'm using a double-sided paper, and what you're going to want to do is we're going to create one star, which is going to be the base for all of our stars. So basically what you're going to want to do with a good glue, I'm using glossy accents here. You could use hot glue on this project, but if you're doing it with kids, I really wouldn't recommend using a hot glue for obvious reasons, obvious safety reasons. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of your stars and you're going to glue them together. You can decide if you want one side one pattern and one side the other pattern, or you could just even use just a plain cardstock. And I'm going to show you just how easy this is to make, and you're going to be making them and putting them everywhere. Of course, as I say that, my glue is all gobbed up, it would seem. This Glossy Accents is a great glue. I always keep a straight pin handy because it does tend to dry in the little nozzle. And there we go. We got glue. So what I'm doing is I'm gluing 2 of my stars together, and this is going to be your center or your base star, if you will. I'm just gluing 2 together to get a little bit of stability. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of my pieces and I'm going to ink them just with some black ink. Heidi, I use Glossy Accents almost exclusively as my liquid glue. It is my liquid glue of choice because on paper it dries fairly quickly. The downside to it though is that it does, you know, as the name implies, it is a glossy product. So if you get it where you don't want it, then you're going to end up with like little shiny marks. So next up, what I'm going to do to my pieces is I'm going to take a product called Glimmer Mist. I've got 2 colors here. This is one of my favorite colors. It's called Marshmallow. And I'm just going to spray it onto all of the pieces. And you're not going to be able to see this on camera because marshmallow is white. But essentially what it is it's a paint that has a shiny pigment to it, which is why they call it Glimmer Mist. And when you spray it on, it gives it a real sort of funky vintage look, which you can probably see on the original star. There's like, it gives it like a paint splatter look. And that's one of my favorite products. So, as you can see here, I've mucked that up pretty good. So, the next step, which also happens to be the last step, is to take all of your stars, but not your center star, and cut it up the middle, like that. So you're going to do that to all of your stars, so that you have a bunch of halves. And then we're just going to start piecing things together. So what we're going to do is on our home star, our base star, if you will, you're going to put a line of glue right up the middle. You're going to take your star half and you're just going to place it in that spot there. And voila, that is the beginning of our star. Now, of course, you want to let the glue dry properly as you keep putting on other pieces. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Oops. I'm being impatient with my glue. But essentially, you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. And you're going to put on your other half of your star. And you're going to let those dry. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go in your corners here, your diagonal, and you're going to glue those on. And you're going to do the same on your other diagonal, and you're going to glue those on. And when everything is dry, you're going to have something that looks like this. Now, once it's nice and dry and a nice solid star, what you're just going to do is take a needle and thread, like a very fine needle and maybe some fish wire, and you're just going to poke a hole through your paper at the top here, and you can hang it on the tree. I've been leaving mine sitting out on a table at home, and because they stand on their own once they're complete, they're nice and stable. So are there any questions on how to make this project? I know there's a few questions about the glimmer mist. Like I said, basically it's a gorgeous, shimmery, pearlized paint that goes on in a very sort of, you can see all the spots on there. It goes on in a very grungy fashion. You can use it with stencils and or just straight on the way that I did here. Candace, it doesn't have to be cardstock, but if you're using really flimsy paper, you're going to have a hard time piecing everything together. The thicker the paper, the better, so that you get some stability. Like I'm squishing my star here, and it's pretty solid. And the paint that I used is called Glimmer Mist. There you go, there's the star. So if there's any other questions, you can type them in the chat box and I'll be glad to answer.